Welcome one and all, Steve here with Geek Boulevard. I went to the theater to check out Return to Silent Hill, as I'm more of a new Silent Hill fan after playing the Silent Hill 2 remake. It was atmospheric, it was creepy in all the best ways. I think probably my favorite section and probably the scariest section of the game is the penitentiary. That is easily the one section of the game that I just honestly kind of struggle to get through even as I still play it, because it's just so creepy. Walking through a dark prison with a bunch of these creatures running around, it's chaos. So when I saw during the Silent Hill transmission stream that happened a while back that they were going to be making a new Silent Hill movie, I was a little skeptical, because even though I hadn't seen the previous Silent Hill films, they weren't very well received with a lot of people. But when I saw that they were going to be adapting Silent Hill 2, I was a little intrigued. Does this version of the story live up to the source material? Let's find out. Return to Silent Hill is directed by a returning director of the first Silent Hill, Christoph Gans. It is rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 46 minutes. When a mysterious letter calls him back to Silent Hill in search of his lost love, James finds a once recognizable town and encounters terrifying figures, both familiar and new, and begins to question his own sanity. Let's get the good points out of the way first, shall we? I think the creature designs for the film are definitely worth talking about, as they're mostly practical designs, with returning designer Patrick Tatopoulos handling that department, of course, and doing a really great job of it, I might add. The bubble nurses are very accurate to their designs in the game and faithful for the most part. There are some subtle differences in their designs that kind of makes them just stand out just a little bit more, you know, because sometimes when you translate something from either a comic to film or a game to a film, it doesn't always translate well. So sometimes you might need to switch up some things in the designs to kind of make it look more palatable on camera. And I think that the way they did that here, it worked pretty well, at least in my opinion. Pyramid Head is by far the coolest design in the film for me, because, I mean, of just how intense his profile is as a character. He's not in it quite as much as I would have expected, but to see him in a Silent Hill film where he's meant to be there rather than just thrown in for fan service sake, you know, I thought that was good that they actually took the liberty to, hey, look, we need to put Pyramid Head in this movie because he's important to James's story. The music from longtime Silent Hill composer Akira Yamaoka was definitely a nice nod to the fans and put a smile on my face for a little bit, you know, when his music was more prominent in those specific scenes. As for the negatives, there's a lot more to talk about there. Firstly, the amount of noticeable green screen in this movie should be a crime. Multiple scenes of James going into the other world looked absolutely horrible, and you can clearly see the outline of his profile not matching with the lighting of the scene, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. Also, the character designs for James and Maria also just look more like cosplay than anything else. This entire movie honestly feels more like a fan film, and if that were the case, you know, I could easily forgive a lot of this, but since it's not...
No, I don't think I will.
The biggest issue I have, though, is that it's not a faithful adaptation of Silent Hill 2, and it deeply upsets me. In the film, Mary is James's girlfriend, not his wife. Also, the plot of her dying from sickness is still there, but it's connected to this subplot about a cult that she was raised in by her father, where she basically was a part of these sacrifices where she would like start bleeding and these creeps are just surrounding her and tasting her blood, like, and she was getting poisoned by whatever her father was treating her with, like to the point where she was just kind of wasting away. Her reasoning for sticking by these screwed up people is like, oh, well, they're my family, I can't just leave. It was the most brain dead way of trying to make sense of the choices Mary made in this film. Now, I mentioned that the bubble nurses show up in this film, obviously, and it makes sense why they would, because for James's journey through Silent Hill, he has to go to Brookhaven Hospital. And there's normally a narrative reason as to why he's seeing these bubble nurses, because when Mary was on her deathbed, James couldn't actually be intimate with her in a more physical way. So he would have this sort of pent-up frustration, this sexual frustration, and these bubble nurses are kind of a physical manifestation of that sexual frustration. The only connection that the bubble nurses have in the movie is that they're in the hospital. They're in a hospital, there's nurses in a hospital. That's the only connection. The connection of James being sexually frustrated and seeing these nurses in these provocative, you know, outfits and everything. That's never hinted at or mentioned in any way, shape, or form. It was so strange. Now, I'm gonna get into spoilers here, but I honestly don't think you're gonna really give a fuck about it, so I'm just gonna come out and say it. James still kills Mary by smothering her like he did in the game. Sure, that does happen. Only this time it's at her request to do so because, you know, she's fading away, she's dying, might as well just end her suffering. Whereas in the game, James did it as sort of a way to kind of allow himself to be free and that he can kind of go on living his life, but Mary never wanted him to do that to her. So in the film, when he actually does commit that act, yes, he does feel slightly guilty for doing it, even though it was at her request, but the impact just didn't really feel as strong as it did in the game. Because James has to go through this very dark redemption arc as he goes through the town of Silent Hill. And when he finally learns to forgive himself, that's when he truly is free in a sense. His redemption in the movie, in his forgiveness, it just did not feel earned. Also, the ending of him getting like a do-over, kind of going back in time to like fix things with Mary and get her out of Silent Hill instead of sticking with her, just made no sense to me at all. I guess you could argue that once James drove the car into the water with Mary's body, you know, him kind of unaliving himself in that moment, that this could be his version of maybe heaven in a way, but I don't think that's what the creative team was going for with this film. Also, the editing in this film is just not great. I was so confused with the transition of scenes in the present to flashbacks, as it would just cut to the flashbacks with no hint or color grading that we were in a flashback scene. Like, it was really confusing to differentiate what was what. Oh, one little nugget of info that I forgot to mention, which I actually think was kind of cool, is that the girl that plays Laura in the remake is in the film as Laura as well. So I guess it's safe to say she's destined to play this character. And I always liked her as Laura in the game, despite, you know, locking me in a room with a monster and calling me a fart face, but, you know, I'm willing to forgive and forget. In conclusion, I'm giving Return to Silent Hill a score of 1 out of 5. I think the creature designs are very faithful to Silent Hill 2 in great ways, and the familiar score from Akira Yamaoka is always a plus, but it's not enough to save this dumpster fire of an adaptation. The performances suck, the character designs on James and Maria look more like cosplay, the terrible green screen and confusing editing make the experience worse in every way. It's the worst Silent Hill movie I've ever seen, and the worst film so far this year. We still have 11 more months to go, so give it time. Now I'm really curious as to what you guys thought of this reboot of the Silent Hill movies. Have you seen it yet? And if so, I'm so sorry. If you haven't, good, keep it that way. Let me know down in the comments what your all-time favorite Silent Hill installment is in the franchise, or tell me about a time when you first played Silent Hill. What was that experience like for you? But if you enjoyed this review, consider hitting the like button. It always helps out the channel. Make sure you subscribe to Geek Boulevard while you're at it and tick that notification bell so you can always be notified when more reviews drop on my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, remember to stay classy, stay geeky, and I'll catch you in the next video.
I'm here. I'll always be here.